China is still on the upswing. It's a great market for Tesla. Chinese competitors really love electric vehicles, and Tesla is the premier brand today. I think we can read this through to the importance of the India market for Tesla. We've heard from our sources that Tesla's going to enter India next year. Elon actually sent a tweet out about this, in a month. Realistically, this market will be just as important as China. We also hear that they're in the process of finalizing a factory site, so there will be an India factory. Tesla doesn't have a line of sight in buying that. Tesla's, behind the game, playing catch up, trying to pretend it's the leader, and others have been more aggressively developing here.
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, I'm reacting to a few clips of Tesla's most bullish bear, Craig Irwin, sharing his thoughts after Tesla's Q3 results, and also sharing some rumors, which has been mentioning over and over and over in the mainstream finance media recently regarding Tesla's potential entry into the India market, and Tesla's apparent leadership or lack thereof in full self-driving. So let's see what Craig had to say. But first, if you'd like to support the channel and get 3 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you get a free stock. If you fund it with $100, you get 2 more free stocks valued up to $1,600 each and a minimum of $8 each. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
Craig Irwin, he is with Roth Capital Partners, an analyst there. And Craig, we just heard Jared go through the numbers. It looks like a strong report here from Tesla. When you take a look at the headline numbers, what did you think of the report?
I think the report's fantastic. I think really they came through on automotive gross margins, 27.7%, beat what people were looking for by about 350 basis points. So strong on the top line, strong on the bottom line. They did it, but that's not what the valuation is driven by. The valuation is really driven by autonomous, and what they end up saying on the call will end up being of unstatably important relevance to the valuation in the stock. Realistically, if those vehicles that were turned on for full autonomous beta this week do disappoint or end up having accidents or other problems, you could see a very severe impact in the valuation.
For those of you who haven't been following along with the full self-driving beta release, here's an update. Tesla has systematically started giving access to a select few Tesla fanboys, fangirls, especially those prolific on Twitter and on social media, to share some of their experience, to provide feedback, to find bugs, etc. And so far the progress is astonishing. The FSD software itself is very, very impressive. But what's even more impressive to me is the rate at which Tesla is able to improve, iterate and fix bugs. Many of the users with early access to full self-driving have been reporting they found a bug in a certain area, report to Tesla. A day or two later, no longer experiencing the same bug in the same area. So the rate of learning here is quite phenomenal. I don't think there's any risk of this full self-driving release in beta being a major letdown. Quite the opposite, in fact. I think people are going to start to realize how close Tesla actually is to solving autonomous driving.
Yeah, Craig, it's interesting here just when we talk about what needs to happen and what we need to hear from Tesla to justify the type of reaction that we've seen in the stock price so far this year. One of the big critical points, I guess, going into this report was that delivery target goal and the 500,000 deliveries this year. They reaffirmed that goal. How important do you think that number is, just in terms of a psychological number?
Well, psychologically, it's important. Investors will measure that, but just to put it in broader context, right? Tesla's looking at doing 500,000 units. They're being valued at basically the sum of the automotive industry versus Tesla. In the US, I think, what did we do? 17 million cars last year or something. The SAR was right around that. It's a low bogey for a big valuation. The valuation is really driven by autonomous and people dreaming about Tesla's capabilities there. It's not so well anchored in reality. There's other companies with superior technology coming to market.
Craig, come on, mate. Where are you getting your information from? Let me guess. It's these morons over at Navigate, right? Who apparently have Tesla dead last in the race to solve autonomous driving. I mean, hey, we're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe these guys are right. Maybe I've got no idea what I'm talking about. Great thing is, this video won't be going anywhere, so when somebody does solve full self-driving first, I'll be here and I'll be accountable. I think this entire chart is completely upside down. In fact, let me fix that for you. Much better.
There's other companies that really need to be taken seriously that I think investors are going to get to know over the next couple of years, and Tesla's model there is not bulletproof.
Hey, Craig, you talk about autonomous, but how soon before we see any of that?
So you have a beta that's basically been launched at this point. For you and me to see it, I honestly don't think Tesla's going to have this within the next 5 years.
Wow, that's a pretty bold call from Craig there. I beg to differ, but each to their own. I'd love to know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Within 5 years, will Tesla publicly release full self-driving to the general public or not?
Others are obviously testing. The biggest issue is the capabilities of the systems, the cameras, and then the chips for processing. And these have been a really big gating factor. Tesla's chip that they use for AI, for interpretation of the image is 76 tops, trillion operations per second. There's a chip coming in the first quarter from a competitor that does 1,000 tops. I think what Volvo ends up doing with that customer is going to end up being really, really important, because people say you really need 10,000 tops to do autonomous properly.
Now, I'm no expert on chips, so I may be talking out of my depth here. Please take this with a grain of salt, but my general understanding is that if you're building a custom designed chip specifically for one use case, yours, your autonomous vehicle, your autonomous software, Tesla built an in-house chip specifically for their own needs rather than buying something off the shelf, irrespective of whether or not somebody else has a processor with more trillions of operations per second. Tesla took a step back and thought, what do we need to solve full self-driving? How much compute power do we need? How much energy consumption will be involved, etc, etc, etc. And of course, we've got Elon Musk with his giant brain running the company. Do you really think that Tesla would have fucked up and built a chip that had insufficient processing power to solve full self-driving? Like, do you actually think this is the case? I don't know. Again, I'm no chip expert here, but I have a funny feeling, first principles thinking, Elon's big brain, smart chip engineers, I have a funny feeling that the chip that Tesla's built is in fact more than sufficient. And in fact, many other competitors are going to be overdoing it with trillions of operations per second to compensate for the fact that they don't have a customized solution and the fact that they'll have far less efficient code.
Tesla doesn't have a line of sight in buying that. Tesla's behind the game, playing catch up, trying to pretend it's the leader, and others have been more aggressively developing here.
I'm speechless. I mean, I honestly do not know if Craig is serious here. Like, please, someone help me out in the comments. Does Craig actually believe what he's saying, or I don't know? Is someone telling him to say this? Because I tell you what, I'm going to have a field day with this clip. Somebody remind me once Tesla has solved full self-driving and autonomy for me to clip this. Sorry, Craig, I am going to roast you. I mean, this is just embarrassing. Like, where are you getting your information from, my friend?
So, valuation of the leader, yes. And as this technology comes into the market, people will properly factor that into the valuation.
Hey, Craig, I'm going to ask you to maybe go even a little deeper in the weeds on self-driving technology. So there are some people who say, look, Tesla's system is nowhere near the best system on the market. There's this whole question of whether you need to use LiDAR, which Tesla does not, versus are the cameras alone good enough, and so forth. I mean, without getting into those technicalities, we just talked about the electric Hummer, which will have GM's Super Cruise system. That's a self-driving system. Some people think that's better than Tesla's, but Tesla, of course, says ours is the best. I mean, how do you rate Tesla on self-driving relative to these other competitors?
So Tesla's been far more aggressive in actually getting things on the road than everybody else, and that's one thing that I like a lot. The reality, though, is that their system at multiple different points is inferior to the bleeding edge, what people are doing in other areas that are putting together pieces to be sold to others. So the fundamental problem Tesla faces is optical illusion in the system that they're using. Using LiDAR and some of these other technologies makes tremendous sense.
All right, skedaddle snowflakes. I have to say something. You might melt a little bit. It's better that you leave the room for this one. Everyone's gone? Okay, cool, great. Using LiDAR doesn't make any sense unless you're a fucking pussy who has no self-confidence in your ability to competently solve vision and therefore self-driving. LiDAR is training wheels for people with no confidence because they're incompetent or incapable of actually solving vision. One more time. LiDAR isn't superior technology. LiDAR isn't an intelligent way to solve autonomy. LiDAR is fucking training wheels for a pussy who doesn't know how to actually get the job done. Using LiDAR is the full self-driving equivalent of living in your mum's basement. And the longer you live in your mum's basement for, the more embarrassing it gets. The same with LiDAR. The longer these companies go down a blind alley and pursue a dead end using LiDAR to solve autonomy, the more embarrassing it's going to look. Now, there's nothing wrong with living in your mum's basement. It just gets a little bit murky when you live in your mum's basement and are deluded into thinking that you live independently. This is the same thing that's happening with autonomous vehicles. Those companies using LiDAR, using training wheels to pursue full self-driving, may think that they're actually developing autonomous vehicle technology. They're not. You can't take the training wheels off. You can't get out of the geofence pre-mapped areas. You don't have fully autonomous vehicles. You have a pre-programmed robot that knows how to do some things well, but as soon as you move it out of its little safe, comfortable sandpit, it's completely fucking useless.
And there's a lot of risk with Tesla's approach. A lot of the OEM customers of these emerging suppliers are taking much lower risk approaches. They're looking to maybe automate trucking to an extent so that the impact of trucking accidents is greatly reduced. Handling things in rail yards and other industrial uses where the technology can be incremental, and you don't need neatly curated lane markings for the stuff not to cause accidents.
Hi, hey Craig, I want to ask you about demand, and particularly in China.
Whoa. No. Don't ask Craig about China. Last I recall, about a year ago, Craig was on network television claiming that they expected Tesla would deliver around 50,000 made-in-China Model 3s for the entire year of 2020. Those of you who've been following the story will understand that they're delivering over 10,000 vehicles per month. Quite a few over, actually. So let's not listen to what Craig has to say about China, because so far the track record sucks harder than a vacuum.
In the results, they said that in Shanghai, they recently added a third production shift to their Model 3 factory. So as we look at the COVID numbers and China's economy gaining steam, is there anything we can extrapolate from that for demand in other places, do you think?
So China is still on the upswing. It's a great market for Tesla. Chinese competitors really love electric vehicles, and Tesla is the premier brand today. I think we can read this through to the importance of the India market for Tesla. We've heard from our sources that Tesla's going to enter India next year. Elon actually sent a tweet out about this, in a month. Realistically, this market will be just as important as China. We also hear that they're in the process of finalizing factory sites, so there will be an India factory. So the tariff issues will be handled just like they are in China and other places. And it's going to be a really important market. But, is it going to be able to close this gap of 500,000 versus 17 million? No. It's going to be incremental and allow growth and keep those that are bullish on the stock engaged, and that's the importance.
Craig seems very fixated on the idea of Tesla entering India next year. He's been raising this in many interviews recently. Maybe he has some inside information. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that Tesla would make a factory in India anytime soon. Even though it is the world's 5th largest automotive market, the vast majority of vehicles sold, motorbikes, microcars, etc. It's not really the same kind of a market as the United States or Australia, Japan, China, etc. Who knows? Craig might be right about India, but in either case, he's dead fucking wrong about autonomy. Mark my words. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and Stake using the links below. Open a new WeBull account, deposit $100 and you'll get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,600. And Stake, spin the roulette wheel, you'll either get Nike, GoPro or Dropbox. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.